All right, we're back from spring break. We got some spring practice updates. What happened with Pro Day? Is Jalen Carter going to be okay? That's what to expect coming up here on Bleav in Georgia Dogs podcast. Roll the intro. All right, welcome in. It is another edition of the Bleav in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Bleav Network. We're back from spring break. It was really cold here in Nashville. Didn't get a chance to go down to Florida like we do on our annual trip to Naples, but nonetheless, I froze my butt off here. Israel, how you doing, man?
Living the dream, man. We're freezing here. We're not in the teens like you guys, but this wind is really disrespectful down here, especially after the rain we just had.
Oh, yeah, the wind has been ultra disrespectful up here for the last couple of weeks. I mean, we had that big windstorm that came through and knocked over everything. So not good, man. Not good at all. But what is good is that we're back, man, and we're presented by Betonline.ag. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your college basketball betting this season. I know my bracket's busted. I'm pretty sure everybody else's is. So get analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. You'll find all the latest odds, bracket contests. I think they have some second chance bracket contests going on now. You better check that. Team matchups and game trends at BetOnline. Updated odds for everything from live games to conference championships and right on through the Final Four and championship game. Right now, we're getting ready to hit the Sweet 16. BetOnline is your college basketball headquarters this season. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use our promo code Bleav to receive your bonus. BetOnline.ag. It's where the game starts. Too bad I didn't throw any money on Fairleigh Dickinson, right?
No, I know. I did not have them winning. But, that's why they call it March Madness, and one thing about basketball that's way different from any other sport is that at any day in basketball, you can get beat any day.
Baseball's like that. You
can have, that's true, depending on how the pitching's going, which we'll talk about that at a later date. But, watching March Madness, I mean, who would have thought that Princeton would make it past, the first round? FDU will make it past first. I mean, Creighton, I think, just beat Baylor, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, not only did Princeton make it past the first round, they beat the crap out of Missouri and made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. So my bracket was busted the first day because Virginia lost. West Virginia and Virginia both lost. So my bracket was done after that.
Arizona losing cooked me. Virginia, that one hurt. Kansas losing, that one stung quite a bit.
Yeah. But, it's one of those years to where I knew it was going to be a funky year because your normal people just weren't playing ball like they were supposed to, like your North Carolinas. Duke just kind of got in there, which they got beat the other day too. So your heavy hitters weren't really heavy hitting this year, but, the only heavy hitter really left is Michigan State, which, Coach Izzo always has that group ready to play ball. So them, Alabama, Arkansas, did have Arkansas going pretty far, and they're still in it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing shakes out. Don't be surprised if you don't see a lower seed versus a top seed at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Princeton made quite the run. They play very, very well together. But this has been a very, very interesting tournament. Most of the SEC is out now. Auburn put up a good fight, but in the second half they couldn't play defense and they couldn't man the boards. Alabama looked real strong. Missouri looked like crap. Who else was in the SEC? Kentucky.
Texas
A&M flopped. They were complaining about being seeded poorly, and they didn't put their money where their mouth was. So
it sounds a lot like football season.
Yep, that seems to be a thing over there in Aggie land. You didn't hear that from me.
Their track team's really good there. Their track team is really good.
Not as good as our track team. Our track team was collecting the accolades. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter. Shout out to UGA Track and Field. To all of our track and field athletes. We'd love to have you on the show if you want to come on. But they were racking up the accolades. Matthew Bowling.
Also, shout out to our basketball girls. I know they lost the other night, but I mean,
well, they lost today. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. They lost today. There's their day. But
they lost to Iowa, I think.
Yes. And it wasn't, a whooping like everybody predicted it was going to be. Our girls came out. They were really competitive. I think it was like a 6-point game, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to our Lady Dawgs. I mean, they're going to remain competitive, and they're like maybe a player or two away from getting over that hump to being a really, really dominant program.
Yeah, they took a hit when Joni left, and then they had to bounce back, and to come in the tournament as a 10 seed this year. They had kind of one of those seasons where you're just like, at some points you were thinking maybe it's not going to go well. And then at other points you're like, wow, this team is really good if they could just put it together more consistently. And I think once they put it together more consistently, they'll be better in the tournament.
Yes.
But to do what they did as a 10 seed, I mean, they shot really well against Florida State.
They did.
And they ran up and down the court. They gave Florida State fits all day long, and they were able to pull out that victory. And so didn't quite get it done against Iowa, but Iowa's a really, really good team. So
Iowa's a really good basketball team. And to only lose, like I said, I think it's either 8 or 6.
Caitlin Carter.
That's
her name, I think.
That shows a lot of, competitiveness for my girls, coming in with a new coach, and, our ceiling hadn't even been met yet. So I'm looking forward to, seeing what they do, and looking forward to seeing, how we do in basketball recruiting on the men's side.
Yeah, we got quite a bit of work to do there, but that's a later episode for a later day. Spring practice is underway. It started on our break. And I did a little brief monologue because I really just wanted to play another interview, and I didn't want to just throw the interview in there, just cold turkey. So I thought I'd give you a little update on what I was reading about on day one. Some position groups that really jumped out at me. The outside linebackers, for one, it was a spot that coming into the spring was going to be interesting because you have Mykell Williams, who's going to be the dominant playmaker in that group, but who's going to be with him. Nolan Smith and Robert Beal are gone. They're gone to the NFL. It'd be interesting to see where Robert Beal gets drafted, but who's going to replace them? So that jumped out at me. The quarterbacks, obviously the quarterbacks, Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff. They're saying Brock Vandagriff, don't sleep on him. So apparently we kind of got the wrong read. He put on some muscle. He's got quite a bit of zip on the ball. Looks like he's got better command of things than he did during the season or even during the spring this time a year ago. And then the offensive line, especially the tackle position, looks like Amarius Mims is gonna hold down the right tackle spot. Austin Blaskey is in the mix for that left tackle slot. Ernest Green looks to be the front runner at that left tackle spot, a big athletic guy, just like the guy that played in front of him last year, Broderick Jones. So where do you want to start?
Let's start at the quarterback position per usual. I know in our show, we talked about, who's projected number 1 and 2. But, my man, shout out to Rusty Manziel, 24/7 Sports. He said, don't forget about Gunnar Stockton, and let's just say that he was never forgotten. He was just a guy who was on scout team last year. You hadn't really heard anything about him because he redshirted last year. But I'm telling you, if he can, I think he's going to be the one that's going to push Carson Beck. And I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying I think he is the one that is going to push Carson Beck to be for that number 1 spot.
Now, when you watch him on film, seeing what we've seen, the limited reps that he had in the spring game last year, the reps that he's had on scout team, and then what he brought from high school, and judging from the skill set that he brings in, what is the difference maker between him and Brock Vandagriff? Because we know what Carson Beck has. We've seen him plenty of times. He's mobile enough. He has a good command of the offense. He can fit the ball in the tight windows. He has a good arm. He can make every throw. But he just hasn't really taken the position by hold. So my question to you is, why Gunnar over Brock?
I think Gunnar, and this is just my opinion, this is just for me watching both of them play in high school, obviously.
Now, as an offensive coordinator,
yes.
what Brock versus Gunnar, what separates them?
The moxie of Gunnar Stockton is what intrigues me the most. Year before last, I go down and watch him play Thomasville, who ended up playing for the state championship, and he gets his nose like broken, looked like, and he's gushing blood on the sideline. He's like, no, tape it up, put me some, Q-tips in and some gauze in, and I'm going back out. He comes back out, blood all over his jersey. Real reminiscent of when we played Auburn and, Aaron Murray had that big ordeal that went on. But I mean, he's from Raven County, so they're red. I'm talking about it's just a red stripe going down the shirt, and he's still out there taking hits left and right, still delivering the football, so. And then I also look at it like this. He's also been playing, scout team quarterback, which means he's been getting reps, almost every rep, if you were to look at it. So just that aspect of it, because he still has to do what the other team's quarterback does. So he's getting reads. He's having to read it. He's seeing different defenses and things like that. So I think that gives him a leg up. And you hadn't really heard anything about Vandegrift.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
You heard Beck. When Stetson, we all knew that Carson Beck was number 2. We all kind of knew that Gunnar was redshirted last year. So, it's just to the point now that, the long man out, which I think you've alluded to before, is Vandegrift. And it's the same thing to me. Those reps on scout team, when you're not getting them, they're going to come a long way. And obviously, I know we both know being coordinators how that all works. You definitely need your guys up there getting reps because it's always the what if factor. But, getting those reps, with scout team is priceless. And playing the teams like Tennessee's, who else? Who else did we play this year through the ball? Tennessee, especially like TCU.
Levis at Kentucky threw the ball a lot.
Looking at those
Rattler, those guys. Yeah. Florida. I mean, everybody on our schedule. Kent State flung it around. I mean, they had a pretty good offense.
So just those reps, getting drops and stuff at quarterback, kind of go a long way. That's just me. Now, I could be totally wrong. He could go out there and stink it up, and Brock, Vandegrift kind of takes it over. But right now, I think it's Brock's number 2, obviously, but I think Gunnar is definitely going to be yipping at both of their heels for that number 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing we may be overlooking, or people may be overlooking. I know it's in the back. It's got to be in the back of your mind. It's because it's in the back of my mind. The pressure of playing scout team quarterback. You're the other person's read, so you can probably be a little more aggressive, gain a little more confidence. That's a double-edged sword to me, because on one edge, you're just back there ripping and roaring. You're making reads. You're getting comfortable. But on the other end, it's kind of scripted. Like I don't know how much of the defensive scout cards were throw the ball here, throw the ball there. We're gonna put our defense in an advantageous situation to be able to see some things, to be able to see a little bit of success mixed in with some of those real life situations where we're just going to play football. You're the scout team. Here's some of the things they do. Go run this play to the best of your ability. So
now they may do it differently from when I played, but when I was there, I redshirted my freshman year. It was not like that, So like the year we played Florida in 2007, I was Percy Harvin. So you kind of move around where Percy goes and things like that. But a lot of times Percy was a decoy. So, it was up to the quarterback to kind of read everything out, So I don't know if they still do that. They may have certain plays that they go, hey, this is where he's throwing it, 70% of the time within this concept, But a lot of times, I mean, it's like you get the snap and it's like, hey, good luck. You know what I mean?
Go get it, right?
So, and if you look at it too, Sean Marino was also a red shirt, running back, and we all saw what kind of career he had at Georgia as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to be a scout team running back, that's a special person because, well, at the high school level, being a scout team running back is a Purple Heart medal finalist right there.
That was Baker Mayfield. Yeah. He just won 2 natties. So,
there must be something to it then, I guess. I mean, you got to have somebody like that gets a little bit of moxie about him. So I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about, though.
If your children are on scout team and, they're on JV, it is not a bad thing. Okay. And don't go in there complaining to your coach saying my baby should be doing this. Let that baby get them reps and it'll make him a better player, obviously.
Yeah.
And one of them's about to be an NFL quarterback more than likely too. So there's that.
And we'll talk about that here in just a minute, but let's go. We may not have time for offensive line. Let's jump to outside linebackers so we can get into some of this pro day stuff as well. Outside linebackers, Mykell Williams, obviously the superstar, but some names I'm hearing. I mean, Chaz Chambliss is he's kind of banged up, but you have Marvin Jones, Jalen Walker, who also are going to miss the spring with some recent surgery, so they're not going to get the reps. So it's up to the young guys: C.J. Madden, Darius Smith, Damon Wilson, Samuel Mpemba, and Gabriel Harris. Those are some names that we're looking at outside linebacker. I'm going to focus on those last three: Damon Wilson, Samuel Mpemba, and Gabriel Harris. Just watching them, Samuel Mpemba seems to be the one that jumps off the page to me early on, just based on impressions of high school film. And I think he's coming out of IMG. So he's so long, so rangy, so explosive that I think he has a chance to – I think he probably has the best chance to play early. Gabriel Harris, I think, has a little bit more size to him. But, I mean, really, they're kind of – I think Mpemba's the best of the three, but I think they're all kind of very similar in their skill sets. Yes,
I played against Gabriel when he was at TCC. Let me tell you, that's a grown man. You hear me? That is a grown man.
Yeah.
But I think to me, you got to have a guy who can put his hand in the dirt, which is our outside linebacker. That position itself is the jack. That's either stand up or hands in the dirt. So to me, I haven't really seen Mpemba, but I know Gabriel definitely did that when he was in high school. He played standing up sometimes. He played with his hand in the dirt. So it's really going to be interesting, how this goes, which we all know. I mean, we interchange people left and right, and at those positions. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this goes, man. I think all of them can play, and if we're hearing noise about them right now, it's only going to get even. The anticipation, the hype is only going to get higher when August hits. So it's going to be really, really fun. I actually get to go I think we go Friday. We get to watch practice on Friday. I'm actually going up, so I'm excited to see it.
See if Kirby will let us have a few of the coaches. Like, let us have Coach Bobo, Coach Hartley, B Mac. Let's see if he'll let us set something up with them.
Oh, we'll see. Well, they're making the big bucks now, so you just never know. But I think just with how everything's going, that position is going to be really, really important because you got to have a guy who's got range. That was where Nolan played at. So that hand in the dirt, man, especially when we go that 4-down look, is going to be really, really important. So it's going to be who can take on that tackle, who can get movement there still, and who can cover, especially back out the backfield. We all remember how the Florida game went a couple years ago.
Yeah. Well, Gabe Harris got into a little shoving match with Pierce Sperlin, two freshmen going at it.
Absolutely.
Early on. So you love the fire, you love the kind of piss and vinegar he's playing with.
Absolutely, man. You got to compete. That's one thing Kirby says. That's one thing I tell my players too. We want results. So the result is if you compete, I mean, you're gonna get those squabbles. If there's not a fight at spring practice, that means you're not. Are you really practicing?
Yeah. And the pads aren't even on yet, so that's even crazier.
Absolutely. You want to get out of here unscathed. You don't want any injuries. But at some point, it's got to be competing. I'm not going to let the man across from me beat me. Right. So that's exactly what you want to see, especially because everybody's going to think, all right, well, they've won 2 back-to-back. They've gotten complacent, and are you still being the hunter or are you being hunted?
No doubt, man. No doubt. So. We are presented by Row One brand. You can get your vintage art watch. Dawgs 20 is that promo code. Still waiting on which one I'm going to pick. I got to get in touch with Row One and get my watch. But you can get one if you go to row1brand.com. You can look at their selection, even if you're not a Georgia fan. It doesn't matter. So find that friend I don't know why you're friends with non-Georgia fans. No, I'm just kidding. So like for your cousin, Ben, he can find a Gator watch.
I'm a Dallas fan, so
your Cowboys just got Brandon Cook, so you can get you a Cowboys watch. So it's all vintage art. So you're really just paying, instead of paying for artwork to hang on your wall, you're paying for artwork to wear on your wrist. So it's a really neat concept. It's all expired copyright that is now in public domain. And so it's really, they're really unique, I guess is the best word to describe them. So Dawgs, go to Dawgs20 is the promo code. So go to row1brand.com, find you a watch that you like, Dawgs20, the promo code, make your purchase today. So speaking of people who are going to be able to purchase these watches, Pro Day happened on Wednesday. In the midst of all this free agent frenzy stuff that if we were an NFL show, we would probably have been not on spring break last week, but Pro Day. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, it's noted that Jalen Carter had an ugly day at Pro Day, but I still think a lot of that stuff was lingering over his head. I talked about it a little bit on SEC After Dark, and I was going to post it as one of our episodes. But the information became expired because what happened the next day is he reached a plea bargain with Athens Clarke County, and he got probation, fines, community service, that whole deal, no jail time for his charges. So what you're saying is, after reading all that, okay, let me make sure I'm not a legal guy, but it sounds real familiar to what you would get if you were caught drag racing in the street. Exactly. So part of the statement is the police officer released him from the scene, and then they asked him to come back. So it looked like he fled the scene, but he didn't. He was able to leave. They got all the information I guess they needed. He entered a plea of no contest. Charges of racing and reckless driving is the official charges. He's sentenced to 12 months probation, so a year of probation, $1,000 fine, and 50 hours of community service, and a completion of a state-approved defensive driving course. So you're saying, let me make sure I got this right. I read the article. That's the official. Listening to you say it again really grinds my gears, because you're telling me that you guys tried to ruin a young man's career over some misdemeanor charges and making it seem like he was just a terrible human being for that horrible thing that happened. Yeah, it's the reporting of this whole thing. It's like, and it leads, honestly, that's the problem with some of this reporting. The same thing happened with the Brandon Miller stuff. And I guess that still may be unfolding. I'm not sure. I kind of stopped following that story. But a lot of times it's just, they get this little bit of information and people want to be first to get it out. Now, we're not a news breaking show. We never have been. We never will be. We're reactors. We give you our opinion from our perspective. That's what we do. That's how we're different. That's how we're unique, just like the watches you can buy from Row One. But I think what happened was, like, you see some of the information, it was kind of being piecemealed based on hearsay, based on initial statements, based on things that were incomplete bits of information. Like, hey, we know this, but we don't know. We haven't really been able to connect the pieces yet. And admittedly so, it looked terrible. It looked like, oh boy, they stopped everything, issued an arrest warrant, and they, and he, surrendered himself. He spent less time. You would spend more time watching this program than he did in Athens that night. Yes. Just so you know. So it looked awful. And, obviously we have to react to this kind of thing, right? And with the information that was provided, I can see why it would be easy to crucify him. Not saying it's fair, but I can see why it would be easy because of what was out there. But now, now some things have been cleared up a little bit. It's been resolved. He got 12 months probation, and not condoning what he did. Street racing is very dangerous. It's still very much illegal, and he's lucky that something worse didn't happen. I mean, you know, I don't know if his part in it led to the direct death in Devin Willock and you know, Chandler LaCroix, but it may certainly a sad situation no matter how you spin it. But nonetheless, on the criminal side, I'm just glad things were cleared up. I'm just glad some things were resolved.
Absolutely. And, you know, there are some really good ones out there. And, you know, I'm glad the investigation went the way it did. But let's just say this. There's a better way that could have been done, especially now.
What's the reporting? It's reporting of it.
Said and done. And, you know, everybody coming out with their stories and things like that. So, you know, I'm not going to place the blame game on anybody, but I've said it before, and I said it when we broke the news last time, that there was going to be more to this story that people haven't heard. And it sounds really suspicious that this took a month and a half, almost 2 months for it to even come out. So it finally came out, and now everybody's like, oh, well, I still blame, if I do blame anybody, I blame whoever leaked it from the office, from the prosecution's office, whoever leaked the story the day before, 30 minutes before he does his interview at the combine. Okay. So whoever did that is a terrible, terrible person. And the way that it was read compared to what just came out in the statement and we wonder why. And you've been in Athens, you know, just as well as I do, is why there's a disconnect between the police and the football players or the athletes in general that are on campus. You know,
it seems like it's worse with football players than it is with any other sport.
It's one of those deals to where could this not have, if this is what you had and this was the story, could that not have been like, hey, a phone call to his agent? Hey, man, look, this is what we got. I know this is short notice and I know this is coming out this time, but can he come down here and take care of this? You know, so now you can spin that and be like, hey, he had a meeting he had to go to or something. You know, it was going to eventually come out what happened, but everything could have been a lot smoother, you know, during that time. You know, and if you look at him at Pro Day, I mean, he's stressing. You know, I'm pretty sure he had to go to.
He gained 10 pounds in a week. I mean,
my man was stressed eating.
He couldn't focus. He couldn't. I mean, he had a bad Pro Day, which is,
you know what I mean?
Which
he's
is not ideal.
He's having PTSD. He's like, are they going to come try to get me here? You know what I mean? So, you know, there's a lot of factors could have gone into that. So I just wish him the best. You know, that's a tough deal to go through, especially when you're still mourning. And then all of a sudden you get hit with that amongst everything else. But I think his pro day will be fine. You know, pro days are real different when you're going against people. So I think he'll still be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know that he'll, with that performance and things like that, I don't know how much they'll take into account that of the situation he was dealing with. I mean, if you just look at the performance standalone in of itself, it was bad. I mean, there's no way to spin that. It was bad. I mean, you saw it.
Look at him, the interviews leading before his official interview at Combine. Look at him then, and now look at him at Pro Day.
Yeah.
It just
he looked exhausted, man. But nonetheless, it was bad. Ryan Poles was there. Mike Tomlin was there. Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith from the Falcons were there. It wasn't a good performance, wasn't a good look. But I think if you turn the film on and you watch number 88, and you see what he's capable of, I think a lot of teams are going to say, okay, we hope this is just a one-off, you know, of just a bad situation. You don't know how it's going to you don't know how it's all going to play out when somebody has that much money and they're on their own, like you are in the pros. You never know how. I mean, regardless of situation, you never know how that's going to pan out. But
I think it's definitely a learning experience for him. You know, and you look at Pickens. You know, it's with the baggage that he had. You know, coming and Mike Tomlin was like, "Hey, bro, you come over here now. This is how it's going to be," and he has been pretty much flying the straight and narrow. You know, I think he had like maybe one incident, but I mean, that's just him being competitive. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a big outburst, you know, so I think he just needs to get with the right organization, and I think he'll be fine. You know, I think there's a learning experience for sure. Like, hey, I can't be out here, doing what I'm doing and think that I'm free, So if anything, it's a learning experience for sure. You hate the circumstances that the learning experience came through, but it's one of those. Hey, I'm learning from this, and I'm going to be a better person from it.
Well, we'll see where that lands in April when the draft rolls around. I don't know. I mean, snap judgment would be like, oh, he's going to fall out of the first round, but no, he's not going to fall out of the first round. He may not even fall out of the top 10. Because,
but can I say this and lighten this thing up? One person we forgot about, and I felt like such a douchebag for forgetting about this guy's Kearis Jackson. Man, I really felt really
forgot
bad.
He was in the draft. Yes,
he was in the draft, and I want to give a shout out to Kearis. Man, I completely forgot just because you don't really hear it. He's not flashy, he's not flamboyant, things like that. He just go out there and do what he's supposed to do.
He had a good pro day.
He had a really good pro day. He had a great pro day. I think, and Kirby Smart even said, I think he's a sleeper out of that group because you don't really hear a lot between him and Chris Smith. You really don't hear a lot about them, but you hear a lot that they're great players, smart players, and they just go and do their job. So Kearis, from a Dog alum, Dog fan, my bad, big dog. My bad. For some reason, I thought he was going to be there another year. I apologize for that. I forgot my boy in the receiver room. Yeah. So
Kearis Jackson, man, I think he's gonna provide. He's gonna be a really good day 3 pick for somebody that's looking for a really good receiver that's really technically sound, makes big plays, is just always kind of in the right spot. Great leader.
Buffalo's looking for one. They're trading one dog for another one.
Yeah, they just let go of joystick. Yeah, they're looking for somebody. So, Carolina could look for another piece. Chicago could find a nice little number 4 piece there for them, or number 3 piece if Chase Claypool can't get his head on straight. Pittsburgh could use another dog. Atlanta outside of Drake London has a pretty mediocre average receiving core. I mean, somebody can get in there and make some noise. Why not Kearis?
Whatever beef that Arthur Blank has with Athens, Georgia, he needs to figure it out.
Did we reject one of his Home Depots or something? Is that what it was?
I don't know, man. My boy he is not about.
Did you guys trash the Flowery Branch facility when you practiced there one time? I know you guys used to have to bus over there, right?
No, that was before me.
Y'all never practiced at Flowery Branch?
Mm-mm.
Where would inclement weather? Where would y'all go?
To the Ramsey.
Oh, that sucks. That's very high school of you guys.
Well, that only went maybe twice because I'll never forget this story, man. It's pouring down raining outside, and I just remember all of us were dressed full pads. We're like, yes, we're finna go to the Ramsey, but we also noticed that none of the buses were outside. So we just see Coach Rick just kind of walks through us. He looks outside, goes outside, looks up in the sky, comes back in and says, all right, guys, it stopped raining. And I kid you not, it rained all the way around except the practice fields.
Wow.
That is a true story. You can ask anybody. It would be I think it was 2008 season, I think it was. 2008, 2009, one of those. He walked outside, looked up in the sky, came back in and said, guys, let's get ready for practice. And it rained all around except on the practice field that day.
Little force field, huh?
And that's when I realized that Coach Rick had direct line to God.
He did. He very well did.
God is his homeboy, and he looked out for him that day.
That's incredible, dude.
It never rained. It never rained at practice. Never.
Yeah, and it was probably bright and sunny. It rained like crazy. It rained like hell before. It rained like hell after.
Yep, but it never rained while we were at practice.
That's incredible.
It rained one spring game while we were there.
I think I was there.
Yep, one spring game.
I think I was there. But nonetheless, let's end the show with a little bit of Stetson Bennett. Somebody who had some legal troubles, obviously of his own.
The week before as well.
Yeah, partying a little too hard in Dallas, which happens. But had an outstanding combine and an even better pro day. I mean, was making all the throws, was in command of it, had a lot more swagger, answered the media about all of his antics,
all his fun times,
all of his stuff, all of his drama. If you want to catch that episode, a lot of you caught it. So if several of you others want to catch it, I think 3,000 of you caught that one. So that was a pretty popular episode. But he had his drama, but he put all that behind him. Met with the media, had a really good pro day. Had a script of throws that one of the more impressive throws. The more impressive throws were when they put him on the move. I mean, obviously that's the break him out of his slump.
Mm-hmm.
Just put him on the move, let him complete a couple passes on the move, and he's right back in his groove. There was one throw he made from right hash to left sideline on an out route that showed me, okay, he can make these throws.
Mm-hmm. He throws the NFL ball a lot better than he does the college ball. I'll tell you that, because the zip on the ball that he has right now, it is absolutely amazing. That just goes to show the training and stuff that he's had. At first, like we and you talked about last,
I think his mechanics are sharper too.
Yeah, he went to a trainer. You don't have to go to class, so you got that time in the morning to kind of do all that stuff and work out, and actually train to be an NFL guy. And the competitive nature of Stetson Bennett, being told I'm not going to be able to do this and that, I think is what drives him. And you can look at him and tell that he's a different guy. He still has a Sequavius haircut, so you already know he's going to be balling.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to seeing where he goes, because he's going to be an asset wherever he goes. And like I said, he's going to be the next Chase Daniel. Making millions of dollars being a backup. Not
a bad gig. He'll get a handful of starts due to injury. But yeah, something has changed. I think early on maybe he just didn't take it seriously because he didn't think he was a serious candidate or a serious prospect.
Mm-hmm.
But you've watched him since he walked out of jail in Dallas till now. It's like a different Stetson. It's like it woke him up as like, okay, maybe I do. Like I was kind of questioning whether he wanted to play in the NFL, whether he wanted to go after this thing, because it didn't seem like he was taking it all too seriously. But evidence shows the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
He looked really good. Apparently he's buckled down, I guess. So I'm happy for him. I hope he gets drafted so he can get that guaranteed contract, which I think it's like 2 years if you're drafted on day 3, 3 years if you're drafted on day 2, and obviously 4 years with a 5th-year option if you're drafted in the first round, which Stetson won't go in the first round, but he will end up on a roster somewhere. Maybe start as a number, maybe start only the way Stetson can start as a number 3 and just kind of work his way through.
Absolutely.
But he looks like he belongs. That's one of the things I noticed. Even at the combine when he was up against Stroud and Levis and Aiden O'Connell and all those other Tanner McKee, all those other guys, Anthony Richardson. He looks like he belongs. He's more dialed in. It looks like his mechanics are sharper. He's just got more focus. Like I think he was just having fun in college and he was just letting it rip.
Absolutely.
Now I think he's more focused, which is good.
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell. I think he does belong. He's him and my man from Alabama,
Bryce Young.
They're
little guys,
pretty much the same height. You know what I mean? So it's going to just come down to what teams want. Am I saying he's a first round guy? I don't think he's a first round guy, but I think he is definitely a day 2, day 3. Type quarterback as far as depth, he's mobile. So I think somebody who's looking for a mobile quarterback will take him. And like I said, that backup quarterback life ain't bad. That practice squad quarterback life ain't bad. You know what I mean? So, but I think the competitive nature that he has, I think he's going to try to do far and beyond that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing works out. Especially considering, I think like you said, the focus is there. I think he wants it now. I think that situation in Dallas kind of woke him up, like you said, and was like, hey, dude, I got to get it together. You know what I mean? You hate for it to happen like that. Something that serious could kind of, wake it up. But, it has woke up the competitive guy that, he's always been.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Well, we're going to leave it right there. I mean, there's more pre-draft stuff to talk about. We'll have a whole episode at some point between now and the NFL draft. I can't really say when. We've got to get it on the schedule with Ryan Roberts and Joe DeLeon. We've got to have a full like crossover show with those two guys from Rise and Draft so that we can get a full draft analysis because, I mean, we're UGA, so there's a lot of draft prospects. But we had a lot to unpack here. So that's why we went overtime a little bit, but we're gonna let you go right there, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk more spring practice, more position battles. We're gonna focus on the wide receivers. We're gonna take a look into baseball and how can we fix baseball after a disastrous first series in conference play, and also as we move into the summer, we'll start to take a look at opponents and schedule breakdowns and things like that. Just kind of some more fun topics and more guests. Christian LeMay round 2 will be coming soon as well. We'll probably react to where all the players get drafted this upcoming spring. Plus more fun as we roll into the season. So for Israel Troop, I'm Corey Burton. This is the Bleav in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Bleav Network presented by Betonline.ag. We'll see you back here next time. But until then, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Do you believe?